Hi, everyone. I'm Sam Eckmann from Gold Derby. And Linda, this is the final season of Dead to Me. And one of the biggest joys for me of watching this show is getting to see how comfortable you and Christina Applegate have become with one another. You've always had great chemistry, but the really rapid fire comedic timing you've established this season and settled into is really wonderful to watch. What changes have you noticed over the course of this series of getting to work with her?
Well, thank you, first of all. We were so lucky to sort of hit it off right when we met. And there's sort of like an honesty and a humor that I think we love and share with each other. And I think that throughout time we've just grown more and more comfortable. And also we know more and more what will surprise each other too. So when we do our improvs, or when we're doing scenes with each other, I think sometimes we're working to make each other laugh in ways that we know that we can kind of get each other. But and to cry in ways that we know things about each other. Going through all of these years together, we've learned a lot about each other, and we've all gone through things, and we've been there for each other. And so I think the more Jen and Judy have gotten to know each other, so have Linda and Christina. And, just as Jen and Judy lean on each other, so do Linda and Christina.
I know there have been several infamous improvs that have made it into the series. Is there any that you can share that we should look out for? Any
Oh,
big scenes that are your favorite improvs that made it in this time?
wow. Well, I think there's a whole thing where we're sort of in an altered state. And a lot of that is just just Liz telling us to just go and do whatever we're feeling, and that she always guides us. I mean, even when we always do what's on the page, because what is written is so wonderful, and it really is written for us. I think at this point too, not only do Christina and I know each other well, but also like all of our writers who are so wonderful, and including our showrunner, Liz, who directs as well this season. Like, she knows us so well, and she always helps us too, even if we are, we do what's on the page, and then afterwards we sort of can extend, and they'll let it go for a long time. So we usually just go until we break each other, me and Christina. And then, but the thing about that is she's always there helping us pick, because a lot of times when people do improv, some stuff's good, some stuff's not good. And some stuff serves the story, and some stuff doesn't. And I would say of the improv that we do, it is still somehow shepherded to make sure that it serves the story, and Liz is always there with us. So she's always still kind of creating it along with us.
Yeah. And I mean, I know it must have been very devastating to hear of her MS diagnosis, and you actually shut down production for a few months. You paused in order to give her time. Was there ever like a feeling of, oh, well, that's it, we're not going to get to finish the story, that has to be the end?
I think there was, I mean, it was a time of unknowns, quite, like in every way. And I think at the forefront of anything after being with people for so long is you just want what's best for them. So I think, while you wondered about the show, that was secondary to how your friend is doing, or how this, this person who you care about and you love, how they are doing. And I think that, I'll speak for myself, but I think everybody else probably felt the same way, because we have such a loving community that whatever was going to be the most supportive was the thing that we wanted to do. If that was continuing because that's what she wanted to do, or if that was never continuing again because that's what she wanted to do, I think we were all in line with whatever was best for her and what she wanted.
Yeah. I'm curious about that pause, because I feel like, in performance, you must not be able to help drawing on what's happening in life in any role. And was there anything that taking a step back from the material and taking a pause from the material and coming back, did you find something new in the character in that break?
Well, the interesting thing is they didn't change the script at all, because we had already done 50%, I think it was, of what we were about to shoot. So we had half of it in the can, and we shot out of order because some people's schedules didn't allow for them to be there. So we did, we had shot, I think, something from nearly every episode by the time that, we had taken any breaks for whatever reasons. And so we were pretty well into what we were going to do then. And I think, more than anything, I think you spend 4 years on a set well, it was, you know, over 4 years with people. You see people go through so many things, you know, you really do. And we've all leaned on each other. And we have this thing about being on set, which I think comes through in the show, which is like, it's okay to be absolutely vulnerable. And I think that's what the show, I think there's that feel in the show, and there's also that feel on set. So when things are hard, it's okay to say they're hard. And when things are funny, it's okay to, you know, laugh out loud. And I think that, you know, I don't know that it necessarily changed anything. Does it inform things? Of course. I think your real feelings always break through when you give them a chance. If a scene calls for grief, I think you tap into grief whether you like it or not, especially with the writing, because it rings true. You know, I think Liz does a great job, and our writers do a great job of addressing grief and loss and friendship and forgiveness. Those are the main themes of the show. And I think no matter what's happening in life, there is a mirror to that, and those feelings are in all of the things that have been going on. So, you know, more than anything, though, I think this season, when we were finally back on set, we knew it was our last season. And though we'll be friends forever, you won't have this time back together. You know, we won't be able to be working together every single day, and you won't see each other all day, every day. You know, it's a totally different thing. And I've gone on to have friendships with people I've worked with from my first job on. So I know that you remain friends, but there is something so special about being at work and doing what you love with people you love. And that you don't get back in the same way, but you always like sort of have that. It's like sort of like your friends from school. You know, you reminisce about being in school and how fun it was to be a kid and be in school, like, you know, back then, and you don't get those days anymore, but you move forward. And so I think saying goodbye has been bittersweet in that way. And also just, I think, you know, we love the show. We love playing these characters. They're just incredibly juicy, these roles. So, you know, and I don't know, I think a show about female friendship written, you know, and helmed by mostly women, I think it's just been a beautiful experience. And so it's hard to say goodbye to it, although I'm glad we get to say goodbye to it in the way that we, you know, that Liz had intended to.
Yeah. Which I think, you know, piggybacking off of something you said, one of the biggest strengths of the show to me is its ability to find comedy and levity within grief, which we don't often see in our stories. And it's especially important for your character because Judy is so hyper positive. What is it like having to play someone who can really see the positive even in the worst of scenarios?
Well, she's very different than I am. Which, you know, I had to sort of, I had to work at that in the beginning for her, because it's very easy for me to think of all the endless possibilities for things to go wrong, and Judy closes that part off of herself. And Judy does remain positive, especially for others, you know? So, and I can be a positive person, of course, but I also have, like, you know, a pretty active negative imagination too. You know, anxiety will creep in to certain things like anybody, but I think for Judy, she also has a hard time getting angry. And so there were points in the show where I was feeling like, oh, well, I would be angry if somebody did this to me. And Judy just can't do that. That's not in her. She has a hard time with it. It's something she needs to learn to sort of let out. So those kinds of things were growing experiences. And then I think by the end of the series, Judy's grown in those ways too, where she can finally say no. And she can, you know, to her mother, who that's been difficult for her whole life, you know, and contending with that kind of pain. Yeah.
Yeah. My friend recently described the show to me as her comfort food, which I thought was very strangely apt, because I think there's something very satisfying about watching these two women just like find a way through their grief and trauma. Did you expect the series to become that for people? Was that obvious to you?
No, nothing's, you can never take anything for granted, I think, when you're starting something, because you never know how things turn out. You never know you never know how anything's perceived, you know? You just try to go in and do your thing, and hopefully you choose wisely and it works out. And you're always lucky when it does. You really are. Even if you have the most talented people involved, like, there's always some form of luck that comes into it. And I think we've been, you know, knock on wood, really lucky. And I did not know that about this, but for me, it is comfort food when Christina and I get to be on set. As an actor, it's comfort food when we get to be on set and that relationship just like takes off. It just, for whatever reason, when we're going back and forth, it just works and it turns into something that it's on the page, but off the page it sort of feels alive and it feels fun. And for me, that is a really exciting reward of the writing and the structure and working with somebody who's as brilliant as Christina.
Yeah. And I mean, it's
and
really,
James too. Like it happens with James.
yes.
It happens with everybody. I mean, the whole cast. I mean, lots of people talk about Jen and Judy, but the whole cast is phenomenal. It really is, and everybody plays their part so well. And there are so many different sort of notes in the symphony. And I think that we're really so lucky. So I would be. I just want to make sure that they're recognized because they're so great.
Yeah, it's a great ensemble. And, you know, because there's so many notes in it, is it difficult to keep someone like Judy grounded because she does have this point of view that is quite different from a lot of people on the series?
Well, Judy isn't really a grounded person in a lot of ways. So that's, you know, and then within that, she definitely has her own truth, but that's the fun of it. You know, it really is, it is really fun to find within that sort of idea of this flighty person, the real truth of her. And for me, that's been really fun. It was something that I sort of hadn't done before. I hadn't played a character like Judy before. And now I can't think of, you know, now I'm thinking of what's the thing that I'm going to do next that's going to be different from this, that's going to surprise me, because this whole thing just surprised me. And I'm so happy. But she really is an unusual person. And I was saying that those are the people that are hardest to explain when they're gone. And for me, I've had those people in my life, and they've been taken away from me too soon. And I've thought, how will I ever explain to my child what this person was like? And I'm hoping that's what Judy is for Jen, that person that, you know, that like meant something to her that you can't quite put into words, but that we get to sort of feel.
Yeah. It's rare, I was thinking, you know, for a series to get to wrap up like this as intended. They don't always get that chance. I mean, you know, Freaks and Geeks sadly just got one season, even though it's a cult classic. It just got the one season. So what are you, you know, looking at the ability to finish the series? What are you hoping that the fans leave with and get to take away from it?
Well, you hope that it's satisfying in some way for the people who, I mean, the fans that we have of the show are unbelievable. They're so fantastic. And you just want to, you hope that it's satisfying for them, where the show ends up, you know, where the characters end up. But I think it is. I think Liz did a really beautiful job of and our writers, they're tying up certain things, but also, as she says, not making it too tidy. And I think that's sort of the fun thing about the show. There's always something that is left to be discovered.
Well, before I let you go, I wanted to ask, because you mentioned, you know, what comes next. When you look at, you know, now that you're done with this journey with Judy, what kind of roles are you looking at? Is there something you're dying to play that you never have gotten the chance to?
I'm going to feel like there's so many things that I'm dying to play that I've never gotten the chance to, and that's the exciting thing. You know, I've been in this career for a long time, but I still feel like every time I take a new step, it's like I'm starting all over again. So I am actually really excited to see what comes next, but I also love, I mean, Judy was such a juicy role. I mean, there was so much to do. In any given day, you were laughing, crying, running, you know, it just was, it was like you just got to do it all. And in a unique way. And, you know, originally I wasn't even sure I was going to do a comedy next, you know, so it surprised me. And I think that is what the wonderful thing about great material is it surprises you. And when you have it in your hands, you know it. You don't know what it's going to turn out to be, but you know that the material itself is good. So I'm just looking for, you know, the best possible, most wonderful material that I can find. And hopefully that will be sort of a 180 from you know, Judy. That's my great excitement as an actor. I think that's sort of what I set out in the beginning of my career is to be a character actress. I love that. I think that is just the fun, you know, to just sort of be able to move from one thing to the next and do something different.
Well, we can't wait to see what surprise awaits you next, and for us. So thank you so much for sitting down with me, and congratulations on season 3, the final season of Dead to Me.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it.